In our last presentation on horses, we saddled up and got ready to ride. Now we watch Michelle ride a horse named Cowboy. We brought his pal Doxy along to save her from the emotional stress of being left behind. Cowboy is wearing a reminder that he's an award-winning horse, and he's being ridden today by Michelle, who won state awards for an event called steer dobbing. No such pressure today. This is a pleasure ride. Michelle and Cowboy will demonstrate the various speeds or gaits of a horse. After a bit of a warm-up, the first gait or speed that was demonstrated was simply walking the horse. It's hard to believe today, but in the past, horses were considered very important as a part of our transportation system. We had Michelle demonstrate each gait or speed twice around the arena. Now she kicks it up into a slightly faster pace. This is the trot, or trotting. Trotting can cause the rider to bounce up and down in the saddle. From this angle, you can clearly see the bounce I'm talking about. Now here's a little surprise. She makes the horse go backward. She stops here, and then has the horse go backward. No video trick here. The horse is walking backward. Now Michelle goes into a lope, also called a canter.
Here we go. The gallop's going to be really fast.
The lope or canter is considered by many the most smooth part of a horseback ride. Also by many is considered the most graceful. Even Doxy seems to enjoy watching the action.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Let's see what's going to happen here. Michelle's getting Cowboy to walk backward. So here she's going straight back, and next she'll demonstrate having the horse walk backward, but this time at an angle.
Is this a good angle? Tell me if my angle's on.
Good, it's good.
Now she ramps up the speed by going into a gallop. Now Michelle and Cowboy slow down into some slower gaits. So we had several gaits that we looked at here, several speeds, everything from walking to trotting to loping to gallop, which is kind of full force speed. Different riders have different preferences when it comes to a horse's gait. Some like the calm of a walking horse, but others love the gallop with the wind in their ears, or the grace of a lope or canter. Either way, may you ride like the wind.
Well, glad we got to share some of the excitement of horseback riding. Want to tell you a little bit of a review on those speeds, which are called gaits with a horse. Now, kind of interesting on a ranch, in a sense, you have more than one kind of gait. You have a GAT gait. It's part of a fence that opens and closes. And then GAIT, the gait of a horse, or the speed of a horse, the way that they move. So those ways of moving, we had walking, trotting, loping, and gallop. And you know, we can use these words not only for horse movements, but you know, pretty much for any kind of description where you're trying to describe the way that something is moving or someone is moving. You could say, for example, my child galloped across the room. Well, that brings into the mind that horse going very fast, and you know that the child wasn't just kind of meandering across the room. They were really going with some speed, right? So walk, trot, canter is another word for lope, and gallop. So we will have some more information on horses and a little bit of vocabulary and a few other things thrown in to help ramp up your English. But right now we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
What's a horse doing on ramping up your English? We're galloping toward a new unit, animals. So we're in the country meeting some horses. Horses are just one of the many animals that will help viewers ramp up their English.
So funny. Our Mr. Cowboy, you loving that?
Horses, boy, I'm getting the flies. You see, horses have to deal with flies. Coming soon to RVTV Voices, a new unit on ramping up your English, an educational support program for intermediate level English learners from all language backgrounds. So how can horses help you improve your English? Watch Ramping Up Your English to find out on channels 15 and 115 in Ashland and channel 182 on Charter Cable in Southern Oregon.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a program for intermediate level English learners. Now, we've started our new unit on animals, and of course today, when you start a new unit like today, we want to spend a lot of time with the content of the unit. And we'll have lots of time during this unit to teach you various things like grammar and vocabulary, but there's no reason we can't kind of start today. Now, before I launch into more specifics about horses, I want to let you know that you can visit my website at letscreate.org. Now, on my website, what you'll see is you'll be able to watch this entire program as you saw it today, which is a good thing to do, to be able to remind yourself of it. You can also see some support materials on there, like I'm going to include some vocabulary that has to do with horses. I'm going to include this whole thing about sequencing that I did before. All of that is going to be on the website. That's letscreate.org. Now, another opportunity is you can go to a website called archive.org. archive.org/details/rogue TV. Now there you not only can watch the program I did today, which is episode 33 of Ramping Up Your English, you can also download it so you can have your own copy of it right there in your home. That's archive.org/details/rogue TV. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it either on channel 15 or 115 on the Ashland Home Network, or in other parts of Southern Oregon on Charter Cable, it's channel 182. If you're watching it in other areas, the times as well as the channels may be different. So just check with your local access or your local education channel. So let's look a little bit at some of the vocabulary, and specifically I want to go into idioms. Idiom is a saying that it's kind of the richness of language, which is why it's considered ramping up your level of English. Okay, so with horses, one of those sayings is horsing around. So you might say, see someone come into a room and say, hey, you guys stop horsing around. So horsing around simply means that you're off task. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Probably doing something playful, something fun, but you're supposed to be doing something else, and so someone will say, hey, stop horsing around. Well, that's what they mean. Now, another one is horseplay. It has a little bit different connotation. Horseplay is to play really rough. So if you see someone walk into a room and the kids are throwing the pillows around and jumping up on the table, they might say, hey, this is not a place to do horseplay, okay? So kind of get the idea horseplay is kind of a rough play, all right? Now there's some more idioms on my chart here, and one of them is a saying, put the cart before the horse, which simply means to do something out of sequence. So if somebody wants to put their socks on after they put their shoes on, for example, a real obvious one, you'd say, wait a minute, you're putting the cart before the horse. In other words, let's do these things in order. So horses have some interesting, I think they have some more too. Well, if you hear someone say, oh, she has really good horse sense, that means common sense. In other words, practical kind of smarts, okay? And bucking the system. Bucking is when a horse is trying to get the rider to fall off of it, okay? So when a horse bucks, it's trying to get you out of that saddle and on the ground. Something you don't really want to happen, okay? So bucking the system could mean, for example, okay, there's a system in place, maybe it's where you work, maybe it's where you live. You're not cooperating with it. You're going in the opposite direction, so you're bucking the system. So that's the last idiom we'll talk about today that has to do with horses. Now, like I said, I'll have some vocabulary on my website, letscreate.org. That could include things like those gaits of the horse. Remember, there were some parts of the horse that we talked about, like the mane and the tail and the furlock. So you'll see some of that vocabulary as well. When you start a new unit, it is important to get the general idea of the unit and to get some specific vocabulary. In this case, it's not just about animals, it's about horses. Well, we're out of time today. I want to thank my crew. By the way, my crew here in the studio happens to be the exact same crew that was out on the ranch doing the field work. So I want to thank all of them for their excellent help in making this program possible. And when we do our next episode, we will also be featuring horses. So thanks for watching. See you next time on Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/rogue TV. Join us next time on RBTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.